One test match, three T20 internationals, and two ODIs later, we're finally at the end of this slightly truncated English summer. It often lasts for a long, long time. This time it's just about the length of those three particular formats, and we still don't have a decision in this one-day series. All to play for. It all began in London, started at Oval with a thumping victory for India. England came back strongly at Lord's, and now we move north to Manchester, to Old Trafford, to try and decide the outcome of this series. Here on Cricbuzz Live, to look back at those two matches and to look ahead to this particular one and see if the decider can go in Jos Buttler's favour or if Rohit Sharma can go back to winning ways. We'll find out everything in a moment. Let's meet the panel. A slight new look to the panel that we have. Because we're in his backyard, Michael Vaughan's decided to sort of take a backward step. So we're joining Zaheer Khan, Joy Bhattacharjya. Joy, you've got to try and get that northern accent up if you want to take Michael's place.
I'm not even going to try. But I really found it interesting that Michael Vaughan basically played his life. He's a Lancashire boy, played his life for their Beatles rival Yorkshire. So he's like really confused. Like he doesn't support Leeds. He supports United, but he played for Yorkshire. So he's a confused man himself.
Yep. Well, let's not get into football discussions over there because when it comes to those teams up north, it can be a very turbulent discussion, Zaheer. So let's steer it back to the cricket. India once again at the top. Let's mention winning the toss. No hesitation in asking England to bat first.
Yeah, that has been the trend. I think the overhead conditions have added to that kind of thought process. You've seen the results also with that. So we'll have to see how it goes this time around. The match is an early start than the previous two games. I think that is also one of the factors for Rohit to decide to bowl first to make use of the conditions even more and use the freshness of the wicket.
Yeah, it's known as a high-scoring venue, but it's still a place that, well, maybe at times if you know the wicket's going to be true, and Rohit Sharma suggested at the toss that the surface looks chaseable, and hence he's gone ahead with that. We'll come to a very key change, Joy, but before that, just in terms of the word that we don't like using, Michael Vaughan suggested that between Thursday and Sunday, England won't be carrying any of that into this game. But surely, after coming back the way they lost at the Oval, there's got to be a little bit of a mental edge that they have.
No, I mean, my personal feeling is that they haven't really sorted out their batting. If you look at what they did, they haven't really sorted out their batting, but they think they have the measure of the Indian batting. And I think that's why it's a very interesting call. And it's not a brave call, but it's saying that we are actually a better side than we batted the second time around. And I think that's the statement India is making, that our policy is to chase. And of course, as Zach said, early moisture, there's a bit of, overcast conditions. This is the best chance for the Indian bowlers to really get something in. And so I think, that way, I like the fact that even though the numbers don't seem to suggest it, I like the fact that we decided to bowl first.
Yeah, that's what has happened in the game so far, in the series so far. The T20 internationals, India commanding victories, batting first, defending totals on both occasions. And then England, despite the efforts of Suryakumar Yadav at Trent Bridge, winning the final game by 17 runs to reduce or narrow the margin in that series. Here, it's all to play for. And look at that, Zaheer. You don't get two larger margins of victory than a 10-wicket victory for one team and a 100-run victory from the other. So really, both teams have to put aside the rest of the series.
Yeah, it has been contrasting. I think the bowlers from both the sides have done a phenomenal job. Taking six first, Bumrah for India, then Topley for England. You actually thought the consistency, if you see in the series so far, and if you combine the two, T20s and the ODIs, then you'll see that that Indian team has been consistent. And I think looking at that, they will be disappointed that they couldn't finish that game. I felt the bowlers did reasonably well to restrict England on that particular pitch. The conditions were favorable for batting to start with, and I think that led to that contrasting series in this one. They had a great opportunity. Now you're talking about the word which you're not trying to use. I'll have to use that anyways because the momentum shift has happened because of that. The belief is back. After England finished their batting in the previous one, they would have thought that the series is gone. There's hardly any chance until an individual steps up and bowls a spell which wins them a game. So it was an individual brilliance of Topley which got them back in the series. So you have to say that England will definitely feel going into the last one that they got a great chance. They have taken the game to they've taken the series to the last game. But when you look at this Indian team, they will fall back onto the consistency factor which I was talking about. They've been playing consistently well in overseas conditions, not just this series, but overall, if you look at their bilateral record, it has been very consistent and a lot of good results. So I think they will back themselves to see this as a high pressure decider. England have not lost a series in their backyard for about 8 years now. So there is opportunity to make a record as well, and I think Indian team will be upbeat and looking forward to this challenge.
Yeah, there certainly will be. Maybe we'll get Joy at some point on the show to lean back and pull out a thesaurus and try and find a proper synonym for momentum, so we don't have to use that word anymore and yet get the message across. But 2 sixers in the series, Topley in the last game, Bumrah in the first. One of them will be missing. Not out of choice. A bit of a niggle for Jasprit Bumrah. That's the big news coming out of the Indian camp, Joy. Jasprit Bumrah misses out this final game. Of course, he's got an able replacement in Mohammad Siraj, but the way Bumrah bowled in that first game and the way Jasprit Bumrah is, I don't think there's any such thing as an able replacement for him.
No, absolutely. I think he's been a premier bowler now for the last 4 or 5 years. And I remember Zach, the first time Zach saying that not only will he play international cricket for a long time, he'll also play test cricket. These were, remember, 2018 days where people would look at him and think he was a white ball bowler. And no, the amazing part about it is, I think the one thing India has done is they've taken what you call the attacking option. So Shardul Thakur would probably have given them a little bit more batting if they were worried about the batting, and said that, okay, you've added a little bit to the batting and he can bowl as well. Obviously, he's a decent bowler, change bowler. But instead, they said, Siraj is actually a wicket-taking bowler, a guy who bowls up front, he takes wickets. He's never going to be the most economical bowler around. And that, for me, is, I think, a very interesting step. This is an Indian team that is not scared. They're not saying that, okay, since we don't have our first choice, first attack bowler, let's go with a lesser bowler who can bat a bit. No, they're saying, let's go with the next bowler we think who will take wickets for us up front. And I think that's something as a policy which has really worked really well. And I think that tells you a little bit about what the team is doing right now.
Yeah, let's take Zach's take on that, because we were thinking maybe a Prasidh Krishna might have missed out if India were to make a change. In this case, it's a forced change. Back spasm is the official word for Jasprit Bumrah. You reckon Siraj better choice than Shardul Thakur?
Well, the message is very clear. They want to replace a bowler to bowler. They want to replace a full-time bowler rather than deciding on looking at the batting aspect of the selection. We are talking about England's approach, and we were discussing the similar kind of thing. So when you're going in with the England's approach of saying, okay, we're going to be ultra aggressive through and through, your selection choices are always based on, okay, bowling aspect and then batting aspect. But Indian team is not sticking to that kind of formula. They have their own way of going on about figuring out how to win a game, and in that the importance of bowling is high. So when they are choosing the bowlers, they are actually just saying that, okay, what is our wicket-taking option, and that is what is going to be the deciding factor for the selection. Hence the selection of Siraj. It'll be interesting to see, though, when and how Rohit Sharma is going to use Siraj. Does this mean Prasidh Krishna is going to take the new ball and then look to use Siraj in the middle overs? So that is something which I'm expecting. We'll have to wait and see how Rohit is thinking.
Yeah, interestingly, looks like a little bit more work for Hardik Pandya possibly up front. We'll see how the measure of the bowling happens. One thing we know that he's going to be and has been a proactive captain. He doesn't really go by a formula. He'll probably have a few plans in mind and then adjust as things go. India will be bowling first, so Siraj will be in action fairly soon. In terms of the England team, Joy, much of the discussion we had with Zaheer and Michael was in terms of making changes, whether you win or lose. In this case, England lost the first game pretty convincingly. They didn't look at any changes. Next time around, they've won at Lords. Obviously, no reason to change.
No, absolutely. And this is the new side. This is the side that is going to go moving forward. This is post Owen Morgan, the England team, and I think what you're going to see more and more is people like Buttler and Livingston. Buttler has already been a really strong part of their team, but I think people like Livingston, Reece Stapley, Carson, they'll give you those. Every team needs, as they say, you have a team which is set for 4-5 years and has done well, and this is a World Cup champion team. This England team is a World Cup champion team. What they're getting is their core is still there. They have enough of their core. They have Stokes, they have Buttler, they have a lot of those players, Bairstow, they have a lot of the players there. But also there, they have new players like Livingston coming in and sort of injecting them with a new spirit, some new enthusiasm. And I think that's what England has done well. Without dismantling that team, they just added to it and kept their core intact.
Yeah, what they don't have, Joy, and we briefly talked about it, was a Jofra, a Mark Wood, and Adil Rashid. Expected to come back soon. Certainly Adil Rashid, Jofra, no timeline yet. So, yes, in the batting, everything looks hunky-dory. Bowling still needs to sort itself out, and Reece Stapley was a revelation.
Absolutely, that's been their plan for the series. Certain players are not available, so the bowling is definitely looking thin. But they've done a phenomenal job. Looking at the unavailability of bowlers, someone like Topley standing up and delivering for the team has been the biggest positive. Buttler's form has been a concern of this series. Winning the previous game is certainly going to calm those nerves down. So that is something which you can expect. So this innings, maybe you might see Buttler coming back in form. There is chances of that just by the sheer confidence of getting that monkey off the back. Imagine going in this match having lost the series. So that adds to the pressure, being a new captain. So I think that responsibility, looking at that and looking at early days for Buttler doing this job, this last win has a great value for him personally. There is no doubt about that. But when you look at the batting, it's pretty much the best personnel available to do the job for England. It looks settled. You have experience of Bairstow, Jason Roy, even though he's not amongst the runs, but he's someone who has made that impact at this level. Joe Root, again, no need to mention the capability of him. He's definitely going to be playing that anchor role. Between Buttler and Stokes, they will have that tactical advantage of using different personnel depending on the kind of attack opposition is playing. Livingston, Moeen Ali, and Willie has been that power at the back end. So that is looking like a very strong batting lineup on paper with Craig Overton as well. Has some ability with the bat. So they bat deep. That has been their formula. They want to continue with that. Though that's why when you're playing against England as a bowling unit of opposition, you got to think wickets. Only wicket can stop them from scoring. If they have the partnerships going, that means they're going to be aggressive, and then they're going to be looking to take those extra risks. So I think the way to stop them is to take those early wickets, and then throughout the middle phase of the game, also think wickets. Be creative in your approach and field placement to be able to get wickets.
What I'm hearing from Zaheer's last message was, yes, good team on paper. There's the potential. Jason Roy's got runs, but so the message coming to me very clearly, and I think that's the truth of the matter in this series, Joy, is that they look good. If you look at the numbers, the bowling doesn't, and they punched above their weight. The batting looks good, and they've punched well below their weight, Joy.
Absolutely. This reminds me, when you said on paper, it reminds me of this to talk about the English team in World Cups in the early 2000s, the football World Cups. The English team is like, they're absolutely great on paper, rubbish on grass. So, and, a lot of them used to be like that. But this is a different story altogether. This is an international World Cup winning side. So the core of that side, barring Owen Morgan, is still there. And I think that's what they have. And they'll just look at their senior guys and say that, sooner or later, some of them are going to put their hands up. The other thing I was thinking was that Adil Rashid, I don't think is very far away now. I think Adil Rashid is fit enough. I think they've named him the squad for the next series. So good news for them. I mean, Jofra would be one thing that they're really waiting for, but I think Adil will be back soon for them.
Yeah, well, they're not the only ones waiting for Jofra, but we won't discuss that any further, Joy.
Nobody in this panel, of course. Nobody in this panel is waiting for. Who could be? Who could it be? You? I think you got them. Must be you.
Everyone is waiting for Jofra to come back.
There you go. Look at that. That's the diplomatic Zaheer Khan smile. Everyone is waiting for Jofra.
Which is true. A player like him, yeah, absolutely. He'll light up the IPL whenever he comes.
Everybody loves Raymond. Everybody loves Archer. There you go. So let's stick to that. But in terms of the pure runs that opening partnership, I mean, you cannot get a more potent opening partnership on both sides, Zaheer, than a Rohit and Shikhar on one side and a Roy and Bairstow on the other. It's like an opening museum when you're going to watch cricket over there.
Yeah, one of the best going around. You know, when you look at Shikhar and Rohit, and you look at Bairstow and Roy, their number explains a story, and then shows that how often they've put bowlers under pressure, and that is just one aspect. I think what it does is that it gives the freedom to the middle order to then come and continue with that momentum, continue with that platform and put bowlers under pressure. You've seen when the teams don't get a good start, the mindset suddenly becomes defensive, and you can really take advantage of that. Then it becomes a very easy game. So from that point of view, if you have opening pairs like the one which you mentioned and we are discussing about, it's a luxury.
But look at those numbers ahead. I mean, it's one thing to have that history. It's one thing to have the pedigree, but they haven't quite lived up to the pedigree. And already you feel Joe Root's padded up and standing at the top of the stairs waiting every time they walk out recently.
Yes, that can happen, but I feel that like how often we talk about a fresh game, new start, the score is going to be 0-0, and the potential of these two is always going to be there. So if they get going, you're going to have a really tough day out there, and you don't know. So you'll be always hoping as a bowling unit that they get out early. You'll always hope that you get a start like this, but there's always a possibility that if they're at the crease, you can't breathe easily out there.
I just want to add to that, Gautam, just one fact, and I was just looking it up, because we all know that Saurav and Sachin are obviously the most successful player, opening batting player in history. So Dhawan and Rohit Sharma at number 4. But the interesting one is not that in a short span of matches, we're talking just 47 matches, these two, Roy and Bairstow, have come up to number 16, and their average batting partnership opening batting is 60. It's 10 higher than Rohit Sharma and Dhawan, which is absolutely incredible. That means these guys have had some absolutely fabulous starts, and that's why I'm saying that we are looking at two guys, and both guys at the end of their careers, both these pairs will probably be in the top 10. One is already there, and the other will also be in the top 10 of runs scored as an opening partnership in ODIs. I think they are a very potent pair.
They certainly are. But when it comes to the opposition, remember once again, a reminder just in case you may have popped in right now, India without Jasprit Bumrah in the decider, back strain, they brought in Mohammad Siraj. So it probably means that Shami will have a greater role to play, but also Zaheer, someone like Yuzvendra Chahal, who's certainly shown his worth. First game, it was all about the Pacers taking all 10 wickets, but the moment he got a chance, he showed exactly why he's able to be among the wickets.
He has been superb, and look at the players he's gotten out. Bairstow, Root, and Ben Stokes. So you would expect him to do that. He's a phenomenal bowler to watch, and he's a good thinker of the game. And now you can again see the Yuzvendra Chahal, which all of us know, when his mind is ticking and he's thinking about the game, he's using those smart variations which we often see, and he's always one step ahead of the batter when he's in good form. So yes, India will rely a lot on him in the middle overs, and Shami, of course, now will have to take extra responsibility since Bumrah is not there. So if he's opening the bowling with Prasidh Krishna, we've seen Prasidh can also make use of the new ball. So the two together, if they're able to provide first couple of breakthroughs in the first 10 overs, then that really sets the platform for Chahal to put more pressure on the batter. And you would want that kind of a scenario today. So I'm sure the talk will be around that, the opening pair which we are talking about, to not let them settle, to make sure that one of them is gone back in the dressing room as early as possible, and then the game moves in your favor, then you can be attacking through and through, say 25, 30 overs. I think in ODIs, that's the phase which is the most important phase. If you can control the game till that point, then you always have more options, and then you are not behind the game, you're not chasing the game. And it's important that in a game like this, which is going to be a series decider, you would want to be ahead of the game at 30 over mark.
Yeah, and I think we've seen of late in the last 6 months or so, Joy, two sides of Yuzvendra Chahal. One was the side of him that was dropped from the World T20, came back strongly, made a statement, barged into the team. And then there's the other side of him who possibly enjoys a bit of security, knowing that, okay, fine, I'm here, I'm the number one leg spinner, and I've got my place here.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, my point is with players like Chahal, you need to give them confidence because they are your best bowlers. They're going to give you options and they're smart bowlers. Chahal is an extremely smart bowler. So Chahal will get out hit sometimes, but he'll not get out thought ever. You know what I mean? And look at those stats. I mean, 4 matches, 9 wickets. I mean, and he seems to sort of flourish under Rohit Sharma. Again, this is a very important thing. Captains, trusting their bowlers feeling that trust with their captain. These make a huge difference because, Rohit Sharma knows exactly what Chahal can do for him. And even if he's going to, the English might target him, they might try and sweep him. Even if they get swept, if he gets swept twice, thrice, they'll always know there's always a chance on this pitch for a top edge, something to go wrong. So that's it. He knows the captain will still give him his over, still ask him what to do next. He's not going to doubt him because he's going to get hit a couple of times. And I think that's very important for a bowler.
Yeah, that Stokes wicket that Zaheer mentioned earlier, just before he got him out, Stokes probably hit him for the stroke of the innings. I haven't seen a cricket ball travel that hard. Reverse sweep that you just turned your neck and it was already in the boundary. And someone like Chahal didn't get perturbed. He said, "You're going to do that? I'll probably get you out to the exact same stroke." And that's what he did. So there you have it. What about all of you? I'm sure Chahal would have been on your mind when you were sending us questions. Maybe Rohit Sharma, maybe a certain other individual in the Indian team. Let's see what our Ask Cricbuzz Live question has. Who is it about? Which member of the Indian team? And, well, it's not about a particular member. Here's an interesting one from Hariharan Sukumaran saying, with so many questions being raised about the relevance of ODIs, is a reshuffling of the format in order? What is Cricbuzz Live's panel's view on splitting the 100 overs into 4 innings of 25 each? Well, he's brought up something Sachin had suggested maybe a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago. A few other people have talked about it. We had possible changes in other formats down in New Zealand with Martin Crowe. Zaheer, is there a need for it, number one? And if so, is that one possible way to go?
That's an interesting one. I think that kind of format was tried also. If I'm remembering it correctly, it's an interesting one. You got to look at the game being evolving, and that there's no harm in trying for sure. But when you're looking at preserving the ODI format, I feel the multi-nation tournament is the way to go. So you used to have the tri-series and the quadrangles, which really makes things interesting. I think with the rise of T20 format and the franchise cricket, I feel that everyone has gotten used to looking at the tables, which team is where, what position, who has a chance of reaching semis, finals, all those kind of things. So that makes it interesting. I think if there's another suggestion of reducing the game to 40 overs, which in England in domestic cricket you'll see that Pro 40 was being played in domestic, so that in ODIs you can be more aggressive. That was the thought behind that. So keeping all that in mind, yes, experimentation can happen, and you've seen that every time you have experimentation or these kind of experiments being done, you have the club cricket or you have the domestic cricket to try these things out. And if you see anything has a potential, then things can be tried at the international level as well.
Various things were tried within the format. I mean, this is one radical suggestion. There was, of course, the batting power play and how it was being used, and various other innovations, but it's that quiet period in ODI cricket that is really one of the reasons why even these things are being talked about. 30, 35.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're saying that the middle is dead, So you have test match cricket, which has all the variations of 5 days. You have the shortest version of the game, T20. So a lot of people are feeling that one-day cricket is neither here nor there. And the only time that a lot of interest is around one-day cricket seems to be around the World Cups, where the 50-over World Cup is still a very valuable property. But I'll tell you one other reason that the 24-over game was thought about. It was to make sure that the advantage of winning the toss in due conditions has been broken slightly. Because what happens then is that both teams, will face the dew at some point in time, especially if the dew comes late in the evening. So I think that was one of the reasons to do it as well, because in subcontinental conditions, the ball is absolutely sopping wet. Then in the second innings, it's very, very difficult. So then chasing becomes a huge advantage, especially, in India, in the subcontinent, in our conditions. So I think those are the things that we've done. Look, today, my basic point is, it's going to be very difficult to save one-day international cricket unless you make innovations, because the other two formats seem to be more forget about in players' minds, but in the minds of spectators at least. So the sort of ODI format has to do something now. It's about time.
Well, as far as this show is concerned, I think it's remarkable that we've managed to get through with the M word being mentioned only once and the V word not mentioned once at all. We have actually gone through an entire show and not said, will Virat Kohli make runs today? One of the reasons, of course, is that India are chasing, so we've got time to do that. We've got lots of time in our mid-show, and I have a sneaky feeling that our entire mid-innings show will be all about Virat Kohli. But certainly, we cannot escape the fact that everyone's talking about him, whichever way you like it. So instead, let's solve a different kind of mystery joy. Very quickly, your joy factor question for the day.
Yeah, it's a question which is a bit relevant today. Paul Collingwood is in second place, and unlikely Mark Elam, because he was not really known, in fifth. Which cricketer is currently in first place on a particular list?
Yeah,
In this
Mark
list,
Elam was...
Paul Collingwood is in second place. Mark Elam is in fifth place. Who's in first place currently?
I think anyone who remembers that very strange phase England went through under Adam Holyoke, when they had all these bits and, I mean, if you can use that phrase safely, the dibbly-dobblies, the bits and pieces, they had packed them into their team. And, well, that was that phase of that England went through. We'll figure out what that connection is with Mark Elam involved. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live, get the answers back to us. England, meanwhile, off to an aggressive start. Couple of boundaries of the first two balls. Zaheer, are you raising the score that you thought of by about 8 runs?
Means you're thinking that I was thinking 290.
So therefore, you'd make it 298.
298. Let's just make it 290.
All right, there you go. He did it. 290 was his thought. 2 boundaries of the first 2 balls, and the prediction is 298 for England batting first. Joy, where do you stand on this one?
I'm going to go low. I'm going to go 261. I'm hoping India pulls
very low.
Back.
261, very low. Going by with the way they start, I guess I could somehow slot in between there at 2. That's too timid. Let me take a stand one way or the other. Without Jasprit Bumrah, still, I feel India will come to the party. England's ultra-aggressive approach, there'll be a whole lot of runs after 30, but they'll still get only 242. 241, I'm going to stick to the same figure as last time. 241 World Cup final. Worked for me last time because they got 245. I'm going to try it one more time, except the difference is this time India will chase it down with a few runs for the V factor. I don't know how many, but a few runs for him. Well, that's enough of predictions for now. We've had our show for building up to this game. A third boundary, meanwhile, in the over for Jason Roy. So he looks like he's in the mood. Well, we'll be in the mood. We'll continue to do so. 15th, 35th, mid-show, all the way till the end. For now, we'll see you on the 15th over on Cricbuzz Combox. From Joyma and Zaheer and myself, that's all on Cricbuzz Live.